Sleep Token's Wembley Arena gig did not go the way that anyone expected it to. I was so excited about the gig. Every time I thought about it in the week leading up to it, I felt physically nervous because I was so anticipating their first headline of an arena, a band that I've been following for well over 5 years now. And they are incredible live. I was so excited to see them at their full power live at the Wembley Arena in that huge room with great sound. But you can't predict what's going to happen on a night. I'm going to recap my experience of that gig from the beginning. I'm going to put some chapters in this as well. So if you want to just skip ahead to like the review of the gig or whatever, you can go ahead and do that. But I think the context is important in a lot of ways. As this gig was coming up, it did feel like it was going to be a sort of epicenter of the alternative rock world. People were, like Metalbirb flew in from Canada to come and see this gig. He was invited there by Health, who were the support act. And Drew Fortune is another YouTuber that came in from Dublin. And so we arranged to meet up and hang out before the gig. And we went to Wembley a few hours early. And again, I will say this, a few hours early. And there was a queue for the outside of the venue merchandise emporium that was already like, I want to say 150 people in it queuing for merch at about, what time was it? 3:30 in the afternoon for merch. Like, there were tons of metalheads in town. It was pretty fun. So we met up in a pub like right next to the venue. And I guess I didn't really think about this beforehand, but because we were right next to the venue, and lots of Sleep Token fans would be there in advance to grab some beers and grab some dinner before the gig. We ended up like having people being very curious when they noticed the three of us at one table in a pub. And so we had people coming to say hello and saying that they enjoyed our content and channel, which is amazing. Any time that people do come and say hi and they enjoy the content you're putting out is an incredible thing. And I love the conversations I had with the various people who did come and say hello. What was quite weird though is that, I mean, I understand it. In Britain, certainly as well, there's a politeness. You don't want to bother people, you don't want to interrupt them. Don't worry about bothering me and saying that you like the channel. Always come and say hello. But some folks were like on Reddit or on Sleep Token's Discord saying, oh, I've just seen you seeing these guys in the pub. Like, do come and say hello instead. It's more human. Enjoy that. So that was a joy. It just felt like everyone, you could feel the buzz, everyone getting really excited for this major gig that was happening. For Metalbirb and for Drew, it was their first time ever seeing Sleep Token live, so that had its whole layer to it. I obviously have seen them a few times, so I live in London, and I was so excited to see this version of it. And it was a joy as well, just hanging out with Drew and Metalbirb in person. You know, they are such gentlemen, so fascinating, good fun, exactly as you think they would be. There's no sheen for the cameras. They're the humans you think they are as you watch their videos. So it was great to connect about the YouTube world that we live in and talking about Sleep Token and our introductions to the band and our excitement for the gig ahead. So that was amazing. Loved the build up to the show. It was teeming with fans early doors. And went in to check out Health, who were the support act. I know Metalbirb is really high on them, and they're not quite metal, they're a sort of ambient, vibey, electronic, grungy, Nine Inch Nails-y outfit. It's an interesting mix of music they put together. And I had not really heard much of their stuff before the gigs, so I was kind of curious about it. I respect what they did. I think they performed their instruments very well. The drummer was quite tight. I enjoyed what he was doing with some hi-hat work here and there. Curious angling of the cymbals. They were really almost vertical in front of them. It was kind of interesting to see. It wasn't quite my vibe. Like, I have nothing bad to say about it, really. It just, it didn't have the kind of clarity of groove and like sonic rhythms within it that really kind of speak to me. Some of that might be the sound engineering of it. It was a little bit muddy mix-wise, which made it quite difficult. The vocal melody choices weren't super expansive in terms of the variety of notes. It was very much kind of 3 or 4 main notes that they would be bouncing between per each song. So for an untrained ear, not used to their music, it had a little bit of a sameness in terms of the sonic output, even though rhythmically each song was kind of different. Moments I loved within there, but overall, I didn't quite connect with their music, their style. But the performance was cool, especially the guy Johnny who's on the keyboards doing pinwheels with his hair. It was kind of entertaining and fun to see. The drummer was entertaining as well. So there were some enjoyable moments during the set, but also we're there to see Sleep Token, and I was just like, can we see Sleep Token yet? I was so incredibly excited. And then in the back of my head, I'm going like, will they play Euclid, which I'm desperate to hear live? And I had an inkling they might play Take Me Back to Eden, which I'd never heard live before because they've been playing that recently on their tour in Germany. But anyway, I was happy to accept whatever set list they gave us. It is their prerogative. I was ready for whatever they play. I don't think there's a single Sleep Token song I don't like. So whatever they play, I'm going to be happy about. So they come on stage, or at least they did it kind of staggered, right? First of all, the tones of Chokehold start playing, and then Vessel walks in on his own and starts singing that. And it's a powerful moment. It's wonderful. And you kind of, in the back of my head, I was wondering, are they going to play the full album, starting with Chokehold and go all the way through to Euclid? No, they did not, which was a shame. But still, it meant they gave a variety of lots of songs from lots of the albums, which is cool as well. But yeah, it was a great, powerful performance. 2 comes on stage. 2's looking a bit different. He's got like, it looks like a sort of top, not like a big ponytail thing going on in his head. And then 4, he's got his own kind of costume. And 3, the bassist returned. He had a bit of leave recently for a family emergency, so he was back on. But I wasn't sure it was him to begin with, because I thought it was like a stand-in bassist, this dude with longish red hair. Turns out Sleep Token revealed their new updated costumes, almost like a kind of Slipknot would do, right? They kind of revamp their look every once in a while. So they've got these like leathery masks rather than the fabric ones that 2 and the rest have been wearing for a while. So it was kind of strange seeing them with this different look. It's not the image that we're kind of used to. And 3 on bass is a very unique look himself. So that was very interesting to see. But cool as well, they've got more of their own individuality and flair, which was kind of fun. And even the backing singers, normally they're in this kind of just hoods and they're so statue still while they do the backing vocals. But this time they're grooving. They're grooving along and being much more expressive. So it definitely felt like the start of a new chapter visually, but also in sort of personality for Sleep Token, which was really interesting to see. There's going to be a lot to unpack about that as time goes on and see what they do with that in terms of their performances or album recordings and how it influences stylistically in future. Who knows? But they came on and played a few songs and it was just glorious. Massive stage at Wembley Arena, this huge flashing Sleep Token logo behind it. You had lasers. It was epic. It was the visual spectacle that I was hoping to be. There were also backing dancers at one point that came on, do some contemporary dance along. So they've really thought about what can we do differently? How can we elevate our stage performances? How can we add more artistic flair? And it was super cool. Really enjoyed that. I did think there were moments where I wasn't sure that the vocal mix with live was strong enough. You know, I thought maybe in Vessel's voice, sometimes it cut through really powerfully and other times it didn't seem to as much. And then at some point, the show stopped. The lights went off and there were a couple of lights that came on the stage and it was silent. They had started playing the intro music or an interlude music between songs and that stopped. And myself and my friends were standing just in front of the sound desk, so where they'd coordinate with the sound engineer, and you could hear a voice through a speaker to someone in that booth saying, "Stop the show, stop the show." So I assumed there's a crush at the front of the barrier and some people are getting hurt or people are passing out because it's a very intense emotional experience for some folks. So for safety's sake, we're going to stop the show for a bit, realign things, make sure people understand to take a step back kind of thing. It's like, okay, that's what we're doing here. Then after a bit, on walks Vessel and a member of the crew. And they said this.
How's it going? So, Vessel can't sing, but you guys can. So you guys need to sing with us. We're doing the set. He's staying on stage. Maybe he'll do a couple of lines here and there, but he's not well. So we're doing the set. You guys gotta be loud, okay? Yeah.
Devastating news for everyone in the audience. You know, especially if you traveled from far, and especially if this is your first time ever getting the chance to see Sleep Token live. We don't have a well Vessel. His voice has not got the strength today to do the full set to the proper strength and ability. And heartbreaking for him as well. Like, this is their big Wembley Arena show. They would have been looking forward to this and building up to this all year. And to have that hindrance on your own performance would have been so tough to deal with. And surely all day he was there going, I really hope my voice can do this. But not knowing if it could, just hoping, maybe the adrenaline will get me through it, or maybe, just maybe, we can get through the gig. But it was certainly not the performance that he was hoping to be able to give. And I wasn't sure that they were even going to do the rest of the show. That's the kind of interesting part of this. The choice might be, if we're not able to sing, we were only about 30 minutes into what ended up being a 2-hour and 45-minute set. You could conceivably stop the show and say, we'll refund tickets, or just, sorry folks, this isn't, we'll give you, I don't know, first dibs on tickets for the next Wembley Arena show when that gets booked or something. But it's like, what do you do? Is it going to be enough to watch the rest of the musicians and vocalists and dancers perform and have Vessel be a physical presence on stage? Is it going to feel like less than the full experience? Or is it going to be a different, also unique and special experience if we have the whole crowd singing the words on behalf of Vessel as much as possible? Now, what was great to see is the crowd immediately got behind this as an idea. I didn't get any sense that everyone was going like, no one left as far as I could see. We stayed, we watched, we sang, we kind of bolstered the event that way. And for the next 3 songs or so, Vessel was just like the ultimate visual hype man on stage. He was jumping all over the place, calling up to the crowd to sing along. On the inside, he was probably dying and heartbroken that this nightmare is happening, but he's making the best of it. And it was such a strange experience, but also quite cool to hear thousands of voices in unison singing Sleep Token lyrics. So that was very cool. And it meant that too, on the drums, I think he elevated his drumming to be more of a show in a sort of compensatory way for the lack of normal Vessel vocals. And he went big on his fills, and you could see the determination in him as he went through to make it as good and solid as possible. And then after 3 songs or so, Vessel would, not at full force, but with enough that you can hear him for emotive, important lines, he would sing a bit of it to make sure that we felt his effort, and he didn't want to disappoint. And that's the kind of sense I got from it. I have no idea what went on through the man's or the demigod's mind, but it made for a really intensely emotional experience for everyone that was in that room. So yeah, a really unusual, emotionally intense, but not for the reasons that we expected. Not because it's the Sleep Token, it is at Wembley Arena, it's going to be this huge, epic, face-melting performance. It was more of a celebration of Sleep Token from the crowd to the folks on stage. It was quite a strange environment, very unique in its own way. The set list was great. I really enjoyed it. There was a lovely mix of songs. What was interesting is to see the mix of the fans within the crowd. Like when Hypnosis started playing, that got a certain level of cheer. Hypnosis is an absolute banger, incredible song. Aqua Regia, the new album, when that started playing, it got a bigger cheer. Even though, it's a lovely song. I love all their songs. But for Aqua Regia to get a bigger cheer than Hypnosis was an indicator of the percentage of the audience that are more recent Sleep Token fandom, which also makes sense, because that's why they now are at the stage of playing Wembley Arenas, because they have the new influx of fans from the recent record to support that. So that was quite interesting to see. There's a balanced set list across a bunch of their albums, and I really enjoyed that. We got close towards the end of the whole thing. They eventually did play Take Me Back to Eden, which was an epic that I was so excited to hear live. And it did not disappoint. Obviously, it'd be great if Vessel had the full vocal power, but he did a lot of the lyrics actually in that. As the gig went on, he did a lot more of the lyrics percentage-wise through the song. He seemed to accept that they're going to be weaker in volume, but they have an emotional intensity as a result of the situation that it made them quite punchy and impactful in their own way. And there were moments, heartbreakingly, where you can hear him essentially with cries, sobbing here and there, struggling emotionally to get through what he had to get through, I can't imagine what he was going through in his head. And then they finished on this big ender of The Offering, which is a fucking banger of a track. And this big, 2 on the drums and this huge big fill to end. Like, this is absolutely the closer. They had a big photo with the band at the front of the stage, like, thanks folks, good night. And then I thought, well, we're not going to get Euclid. That's a shame, but okay. And then Vessel walks on the stage over to the piano. And I just went, sure, oh my God, is he going to do it? Is it going to be Euclid? And no, it was not Euclid, it was Bloodsport. But it was a wonderful callback to a very old song from Sundowning, and it was beautiful in its own way, and it sort of had a poignancy because of the situation, and it's quite an amazing ender. No Euclid, which was a real shame, and I have no idea whether they originally planned to do that, but because of the show stop, it meant a delay, which meant for curfew's sake they couldn't do that after Bloodsport. Who knows? Maybe they don't want to play Euclid live, maybe they're not ready to. No idea. But it doesn't matter. The show itself, the set list that they put together was really well balanced. The visual of the show was great. The sound was fantastic, except for, obviously, we didn't get the strength of Vessel's voice. And it was so strange, the whole vibe. But again, felt like a celebration from the fans singing loudly to Vessel to fill in that void that his voice could not fill. It was pretty amazing. And what's nice is after the gig, when the set finished, we headed out and bumped into some other Sleep Token fans. Obviously, you can get a sense of what people thought of the gig, and no one I heard was feeling super down about it. There seemed to be a collective enjoyment of, or appreciation rather, of the uniqueness of what that event ended up being. And it was fun to go to, again, to the pub we were in earlier at the nearby, it's called the White Horse, and chat to some Sleep Token fans, some folks that knew myself from the channel would come up and say hello, and that also just made my day to be able to talk to people who have seen the stuff that I do here and get photos and things. It was an amazing, life-affirming moment, and just so great to talk to people about Sleep Token and the album Take Me Back to Eden and everything that's meant to us and them, and hearing some of the personal stories about the intensity with which that album has entered people's lives was really amazing. And I had some more beers with Drew Fortune and the folks I came with, and saw MTM Reacts was there. Metalbirb was backstage with Health, having a very different experience, I'm sure. But it was a really intense evening on all sorts of levels, and it was amazing. I've had such a wonderful time. And then the day after, Metalbirb and Drew Fortune were still in town, so we ended up, myself and my brother went to kind of essentially give them a tour as tourists around the central landmarks of London and have some more drinks and kind of carry on and stuff. So it was fun. In fact, they were such hilarious tourists, like walking around with their big YouTube cameras, like filming things. And I caught a moment of there at Piccadilly Circus where Metalbirb thought, you know what? I've been here before.
I think I've been here before. Yeah? In Call of Duty. Yeah. That damn map. Yeah.
What a couple of tourists. They were fucking wonderful though. I had such a good time just chatting for hours on end with them about music, about, relatable experiences that we each have of doing the kind of YouTube metal content here. And again, very life affirming, really cool, such genuine, wonderful dudes, and fascinating to talk to you about all aspects of the things that we love in the music world. The whole weekend felt like a big moment for the metal community in a lot of ways. That sort of Sleep Token Wembley Arena gig feeling like, for one moment, the epicenter of the alternative rock universe, with this new influx of fans that can support Sleep Token going to Wembley Arena from like Hammersmith Apollo earlier in the year. It's a really exciting time. And I'm so stoked about the number of people that are coming to enjoy metal and getting a feeling of the humanity of the live show as well. Even the fact that Vessel had, a kind of throat issue meant he couldn't sing at his full effectiveness highlights the human beings that are behind this. You can't take a show for granted. It requires people to be healthy in body and in mind to give a performance that we assume must be easy for these big, musicians, but they're human beings. And it's a joy to be in a room or in an area with a bunch of humans who have a shared common love of a particular style of music. It was just, a very life-affirming weekend in London. If you want to connect with other people who like this kind of music as well, I've got a free Discord server you can join. Link is in the description. If you want to support the channel, there's a Patreon. If you want to let me know that you liked the video, you can do so. If you want to see more videos in future, you can do so as well. Have a wonderful day, and maybe I'll see you in another video.